Hello everyone. Welcome back. Today, we've got some crucial news you don't want to miss. Let's dive right into the top financial headlines and break down what's happening. Here's a summary based on the Wall Street Journal's front page headline. Title: Inflation stays firm, but not enough to derail December Fed cut. I've long held that if you want to understand how the Federal Reserve will react to major data releases, the Wall Street Journal is the go-to source for a direct and accurate gauge. According to today's report, the U.S. Department of Labor announced this morning that October's Consumer Price Index, CPI, rose 2.6% year-over-year, marking a slight increase from September's 2.4% but exactly in line with Wall Street expectations. Core CPI, which excludes food and energy, also aligned with projections, rising 3.3% from a year ago. Given these results, market impact has been minimal, as inflation remains steady. Wall Street's focus now is on whether this slight uptick in inflation could influence the Fed's next moves, especially as most expect a quarter-point rate cut at December's FOMC meeting. The Journal's report suggests that investor sentiment remains optimistic about a December rate cut, speculating that the Fed would likely avoid making any abrupt policy shifts that could stir up controversy, particularly given Trump's recent election win. A sudden change in trajectory could draw criticism toward Fed Chair Jerome Powell, raising questions about whether he's under political pressure from the Trump administration. Shortly after the data release, Neel Kashkari, a prominent Fed official, echoed the Fed's view in a televised interview, saying inflation is on track and progressing as expected. Kashkari's remarks sent a clear signal to Wall Street: the slight inflation rise doesn't indicate a meaningful rebound, and the Fed's policy is still successfully containing inflation. His comments are being read as confirmation that a 25 basis point cut in December is still on the table. Toward the end of the report, the Wall Street Journal highlights a potential wildcard in the form of the next CPI release on December 11th, just 1 week before the Fed's December policy meeting. If November's inflation data show any significant deviation, either higher or lower, it could sway the Fed's final decision. This cautious outlook leaves room for adjustment, emphasizing that the upcoming rate cut isn't set in stone and that December 11th could serve as a key inflection point. In conclusion, the Wall Street Journal insightfully leaves open the possibility of adjustments, offering a nuanced and balanced approach to analyzing Fed policy. The second piece of significant news we're sharing today involves two fresh developments out of Washington. First, this morning, Trump was invited to the White House for a meeting with Biden. NBC News captured the moment with the headline, "Trump thanks Biden for smooth transition in White House meeting." When they met, Biden greeted Trump with, "As we've said, we're committed to a smooth transition and will do everything to ensure you have what you need. Welcome back." The two exchanged a warm handshake and appeared visibly friendly, with both extending their arms as they met. During their conversation, Trump expressed his feelings candidly, saying, "Politics is tough, but today is a good day. In many ways, the world isn't always such a good place, but today it feels right. I appreciate the seamless transition, and I truly, truly appreciate you, Joe Biden." This was a rare, warm exchange in an otherwise deeply divided political environment. The second key development today was Trump's visit to a Washington hotel, where he spoke with House Republicans. According to ABC News, Trump addressed them, saying, "Isn't winning just the best? Winning is always good, always." The crowd welcomed him with a standing ovation and applause as he took the stage around 10:05 a.m. Trump thanked everyone and emphasized that the 2024 election was the most important in 129 years. Trump also stated, "We won all 7 swing states by a significant margin," adding that he almost won New Jersey. He then joked, "Unless the House does something drastic, I won't be running again," hinting humorously at the idea of a lifelong term. This remark drew laughs from the audience, playfully suggesting he'd only return if term limits were removed. The third key news item to share covers two recent reports on how the market views its direction following Trump's election victory. The first report, from Reuters, highlights a Bank of America survey indicating that market investors expect stronger growth and inflation ahead due to Trump's win. According to the monthly survey, global investors are now anticipating higher growth and inflation than before. This shift in expectations has led investors to increase their allocation to U.S. stocks and small-cap stocks, which are more focused on the U.S. domestic market and likely to benefit from a stronger U.S. economy. The survey gathered insights from 179 participants managing a total of $503 billion in assets, and notably, After Trump's victory, 22% of these investors expressed optimism about a stronger global economy in the next 12 months, the highest level of optimism since August 2021. The second report, also from Reuters, takes a slightly different angle. 1 week after Trump's win, Wall Street bankers' initial optimism appears to be cooling. At first glance, this might seem at odds with the first report. In the initial reaction, investors saw Trump's victory as promising for growth, albeit with inflation risks. However, this second report adds a nuanced perspective, revealing that bankers are now balancing their initial optimism with a more cautious outlook. The article, titled "Wall Street Bankers Temper Optimism a Week After Trump Victory," focuses on two key points. On one hand, bankers believe Trump's regulatory easing will favor the banking sector. On the other hand, they have concerns about Trump's support for cryptocurrency, which could increase competition for banks. Cryptocurrencies often operate outside of traditional banks, working more closely with tech companies, meaning banks could struggle to capitalize on this trend. Should the government support cryptocurrency further, it may erode some of traditional banks' business. As time passes, we're seeing that different segments of the market are adjusting their initial response to Trump's victory. The tempered optimism among bankers is worth noting, as they're recognizing potential risks beyond immediate regulatory gains. In a way, this reflects a wise approach of staying alert even in good times, similar to what's known in China as "be vigilant in times of peace." It's a thoughtful way to evaluate the future in an uncertain financial landscape. The fourth significant news item to share covers 3 key appointments announced by Trump yesterday, shedding light on the individuals and the backgrounds of each pick. First, Trump appointed Mike Waltz as National Security Advisor, a selection discussed in The Economist. The magazine highlighted Waltz's candid perspective on U.S. military engagements, noting a specific incident from his memoir, Warrior Diplomat, where he recounted a tragic situation involving an Afghan girl. She died during a chaotic response from an Afghan police unit under his command, which indiscriminately fired back during a Taliban attack. This experience led Waltz to question the necessity of U.S. involvement in Afghanistan, a viewpoint that aligns closely with Trump's stance on the matter. The Economist portrays Waltz as someone well-suited for his new role, particularly for managing interagency processes. Known for his hawkish views on China, Waltz has also criticized the U.S. approach in Afghanistan and Iraq, urging lessons in humility and the importance of providing adequate resources for strategy. A frequent guest on Fox News during the campaign, Waltz was outspoken in criticizing the foreign policy of the Harris-Biden administration. His alignment with Trump on America First policies, particularly with a strong stance against Beijing, makes him a powerful voice in the administration. Waltz has stated that if Trump is elected, the U.S. government would swiftly resolve conflicts in Ukraine and the Middle East. On China, Waltz has expressed a Cold War-like existential perspective, vowing to fight to ensure that neither the U.S. nor the free world will submit to the Chinese Communist Party. Waltz appears thoughtful and realistic about his future responsibilities, recognizing the difficulties of setting strict timelines on national security matters, a lesson he says he learned from Trump's first term, when 4 different individuals cycled through the role of National Security Advisor. Next, Reuters provided insight on Trump's pick for Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, a Fox News commentator and veteran. Hegseth has been a divisive choice, known for his vocal opposition to woke policies in the Pentagon, such as diversity initiatives and women in combat roles. Reuters highlighted his dismissive stance on the military's diversity initiatives, suggesting that if confirmed by the Senate, Hegseth might make good on Trump's pledge to remove some generals whom he sees as enforcing left-leaning policies. Hegseth's views are likely to bring him into immediate conflict with Charles Q. Brown, the current chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, as Hegseth has questioned whether Brown's race played a role in his appointment. If confirmed, Hegseth, with limited administrative experience, would oversee 1.3 million active duty service members and nearly 1 million civilian employees in the Department of Defense. At 44, he is known to harbor doubts about NATO, often criticizing European allies for what he sees as their over-reliance on U.S. defense. Additionally, Hegseth has criticized China, stating that Beijing is actively working to dominate its neighbors and eventually challenge the U.S. His stance against NATO and advocacy for reduced reliance on multilateral defense agreements echo Trump's views. Some of Hegseth's unusual remarks, including his public dismissal of germs as a concern, have made his nomination controversial, and there is speculation about whether the Senate will confirm his appointment. Some Republican senators have reservations about his qualifications and his alignment with Trump's policies. Lastly, the New York Times discussed Trump's third notable pick, Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, as co-leads for a new government efficiency task force. According to the New York Times, Trump chose Musk and former presidential candidate Ramaswamy to spearhead efforts to cut spending, reduce regulations, and streamline federal agencies. Trump's statement clarified that this task force would operate outside of federal government structures and only serve in an advisory role to the White House's Office of Management and Budget. This dispelled earlier speculation that it would have sweeping, Cha-like authority. Notably, Musk isn't expected to become a formal government employee, meaning he likely won't need to divest from his business ventures. Trump set a 2-year deadline for this task force, ending on July 4, 2026, marking the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. Musk previously expressed his aim to reduce federal spending by $2 trillion, though analysts consider this ambitious target difficult to achieve. Ramaswamy has proposed even more radical goals, suggesting that entire agencies, such as the Department of Education and the FBI, should be dismantled. So far, Trump has only supported eliminating the Department of Education, and the New York Times remains skeptical of the task force's potential impact, noting that such major budget and agency changes would require congressional approval. Given the task force's limited advisory role and lack of direct authority, any sweeping changes Musk and Ramaswamy propose may face challenges from within Trump's cabinet and from other branches of government. Finally, today's major political story, widely covered by international media, involves tensions between Elon Musk and Italy. We're sharing Barron's coverage of the event, titled "Italian President Takes Musk to Task in Migration Row." So, what sparked this dispute? Reuters reports that Italian President Sergio Mattarella criticized Musk for interfering in Italy's domestic matters after Musk publicly rebuked an Italian court for blocking the government's plan to relocate certain migrants to Albania. Following the court's ruling, Musk posted on his X platform, formerly Twitter, calling for the judges involved to resign. This legal setback marks the second time Italy's attempt to transfer asylum seekers to Albania has been struck down by a court. While President Mattarella's role is largely ceremonial, he firmly responded, stating that Italy is a proud democracy capable of respecting its constitution and managing its own affairs. The controversy began last month, when Italy's first attempt to send a group of migrants to Albania was similarly blocked by the court. In response, Italy issued a decree aimed at legalizing this costly and controversial program to manage undocumented migration. However, with this latest court ruling, the program remains stalled. Beneath the headlines, there's a bit of intrigue. Musk and Italy's Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni reportedly share a close friendship and have been open about their connection in public. This migration strategy has some parallels to the UK's own policies, which involve relocating unauthorized migrants to third-party countries in exchange for financial compensation to the receiving nation. For instance, the UK has agreements to send migrants to African countries, where local authorities then manage their resettlement. Similarly, Italy's plan was to transfer these undocumented migrants to Albania, which agreed to the deal in exchange for financial support. Albania would then decide on the future of these individuals. However, Italy's courts ruled against the plan, blocking its implementation. Musk's outspoken response appears to be a show of support for his friend Meloni, directly calling for the judge's removal. Such a statement, coming from one of the world's most prominent public figures, sparked backlash from Italian officials who saw it as an unwelcome interference in their legal system. This story also highlights Musk's increasing conflicts with various governments worldwide. Interestingly, though, he rarely seems to challenge leaders of authoritarian states. That's all for today. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more updates. I look forward to seeing you in the next one.